Welcome. This is Scarlet and Rage Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you for joining us over the last few episodes, as we have had some fantastic responses to some of the recent episodes. And one thing I have noticed is that when YouTube sends me the analytics, thousands of you are watching these videos, but only hundreds of you are subscribing and liking. And we need to increase that. So if you would, please, please, please like and subscribe to this channel. This is a place that's going to be one of your go-to stops for Ohio State and Big Ten football talk, whatever's relevant in the Big Ten. And of course, it is Ohio State driven. But if that interests you, hit that subscribe button. And all of you that already have, thank you so much. We've had quite a few new subscribers here recently. And we're almost at that 500 mark. And so I think we're going to hit that very, very soon. Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Michael. I'm actually doing great, actually. Week's been good. And, checking on our last video, it's gotten over 8,000 views. So thank you, everyone, for watching that. I was really, really caught off guard at how much attention that video got. Our podcast is definitely unique in the fact that, we only have 400 some subscribers, but thousands of views on some of these videos. I've spoken to other YouTubers and stuff, and that's definitely not of the norm. Like that last video set a record for us, and I don't think we're going to break that one too much, or I don't think we're going to break that anytime soon. But, things are, Michael, I think we are trending towards becoming more of a Big Ten podcast than just an Ohio State one.
I think so. I do appreciate the last video. A few of our fellow Buckeye fans dropped in the comments and said, "Hey, we're with you. We're glad to see the SEC go down." We were actually, it made us feel better about our season. So thankfully, there was some rational heads out there that were willing to just kind of admit like the obvious. But we didn't get a whole lot of Ohio State interaction on that last video. But I am glad that we didn't have too many. We didn't really have any Ohio State haters coming in the comments, trying to diminish. So, bravo to the Buckeye fan base for that. Thank you guys for not being, too sore about the matter. But Jay, before we kind of launch into this episode, we had asked last time whether it should be this up close view or the far away view. And so we got mixed reviews. I mean, I know it probably leaned towards the close up view, but there certainly were some people that said that they also liked the farther apart view. You know what? The only thing I don't like about this close up view, Jay, you know what I don't like about it?
What's that? Oh, I see.
Well, no, actually it didn't happen. Why is your thing not say rage? Where did Rage go? Why is Rage not on there?
I don't know. I entered into the chat room. Is that?
Huh. I don't know.
Well, tell you what, I mean, we're gonna have to put a poll out or something.
Yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. But
anywho, but again, with this podcast, everybody, before we get into why we're here for this national championship preview, we want to change the way people view the Big Ten, because let's be real, as a conference, people kick us when we're down, they make fun of us, we're the brunt of all freaking jokes out there, and we're getting sick of it. We're getting sick of the way the Big Ten is treated across the landscape. Now, a lot of that is on the Big Ten itself, because the Big Ten has failed miserably in the biggest of stages. And thank you, Michigan, for at least winning that Rose Bowl for sure. That is a start. Like I said, that is a start. You have to keep going. And other teams need to recruit better, hire better coaches. This is not just in football. This is in basketball. Big Ten basketball is atrocious. Big Ten baseball is even lower than that. We want to be a safe haven for all Big Ten fans, Michael. Again, if we have to somehow one day freaking overcome Feinbaum with his SEC bullshit, we're going to do that.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I mean, it's I think we are an Ohio State driven podcast, but certainly Big Ten is right behind that. And we are proving that tonight, because we are covering the biggest game of the Big Ten this entire season. And that's going to be Michigan versus Washington. And Jay, before you kind of launch into some of the more technical analysis,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, I know, I hear it. Some people saying, well, you know what? This is a win for the Big Ten either way. This is two Big Ten teams. No, it's not. This is one Big Ten team, Michigan, versus a Pac-12 team, Washington. I know that they're going to be in the Big Ten next year. And I know that the winner of the game, regardless of the outcome, is going to be a defending champion within the Big Ten Conference next year. But if Michigan does not win this game, then the Big Ten did not win a national championship. And so that is why I am wanting the boys in blue to finish what they started and go ahead and win it all against the Washington Huskies. But Jay, give us some of your thoughts as to how that can happen, what the likelihood of that is, and who you're going to pick
Okay.
eventually.
Yeah. Well, I will say this before I get into the analytics. I just want to point out a couple videos ago, even though I picked the Rose Bowl wrong, and I did pick Alabama to beat Michigan, I fully admit that. I was one of the few people that actually picked Washington to beat Texas. I was never quite sold on Texas because their defense just frankly isn't very good.
Yeah.
And, I don't think Quinn Ewers is all that great of a quarterback. He kind of like has a weak, it's so weird his delivery, and the football takes a long time to get there, but he's like got good arms. It's so weird, but his arm strength doesn't um stick out to me overly. But when we talk about this game, Michael, one thing that comes to my mind, before we get into analytics, but this is going to be a storybook ending, no
Yeah.
matter who wins,
Right.
because now we have the Michigan Wolverines with all the accusations thrown against them, and I don't know if they're true or not. I'm not going to speak on that. So we'll see. We'll just put it as we'll see. And then you have the Washington Huskies over here. This is the final season of the Pac 10, and they're in the national championship game. And this is a bookend, too, because 2014, you had the Big Ten versus the Pac 10 in year one. And now we're in 2023, same exact scenario. You
Yep.
couldn't write this ending any better, Michael.
Yep. No, it's true. It's great. And so, hopefully the Big Ten can at least be the first and the last of this college football era to be a national champion. We'll find out very soon. But I like their chances, Rage. I really do.
Hell yeah. Also, what's also great about this game, this is a big fuck you to ESPN.
Oh
This is a
yeah.
big fuck you to ESPN because you know why? They are such a garbage network. And Big Ten fans, all of us know this. The ESPN sucks. And if you notice, the coverage for this game has not been as much as if it were an SEC team playing. Have you
No, it's
noticed
not been
that?
nearly as enthusiastic. Why is that?
I don't see anything. I mean, again, I hate ESPN, but you have to turn on ESPN to like watch like college basketball or something. Like I was even watching a high school basketball game.
Uh-huh.
And I don't, usually you have like a rundown and you have things on the side like a countdown clock or something to the national
Right.
championship game. There's none of that going on for this game.
Why? Why would ESPN not be excited about this game?
They're in
What's
bed
the
with the
problem?
SEC, man. They suck off the SEC.
Oh, that's right. The SEC is only aligned with ESPN moving forward and no other networks. And the
Hmm.
Big Ten doesn't have any affiliation with with ESPN moving forward. And you have essentially two Big Ten teams in the national championship. So no wonder ESPN isn't so excited about this. But this is beautiful. It is so nice that you're actually going to have to hear a somewhat unbiased broadcast
Hmm.
because ESPN doesn't have their favorite dog in the hunt, which is whatever SEC team happens to be advancing that particular year.
ESPN is forced to cover two teams from conferences they really do not cover at all. I know they don't cover the Big Ten, at least their football games at all. I know that game day did have, they were forced to go to Michigan for Ohio State, Michigan, because it was what, 2 versus 3, I think.
Yeah.
And they had no choice but to go, but they have not broadcast a Big Ten game all season. All of the Big Ten games have been on like Fox or CBS, the Big Ten Network. Like none of the games have been distributed or shown by ESPN.
Well,
So
CBS is dropping the SEC after this year.
are they completely going away?
Yes.
Wow.
The SEC will have one television affiliation, and that's ESPN. That's it. ESPN,
Well,
ABC.
when of course, the playoffs are on ESPN, so they're going to show favoritism and stuff. Let's just hope that they're not in the. Let's hope that ESPN aren't a bunch of freaking corrupt lobbyists, freaking paying off those committee members and giving the SEC
Yeah,
teams higher seeds.
the committee members, I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to get down that thing. We don't have to worry about it this year.
Yeah. All right. So
Let's just,
okay. So why we're here is we want to break down this national championship game because let's be real. This is the biggest game of college football this year, everyone. It
this
is the
is it.
last game. And it's really sad. It's really sad that it seems like yesterday I was in Denver, Colorado watching week one, Ohio State, Indiana. And here we are in freaking like almost mid-Jan or like second week of January. And here we are. It's just time goes by so fast, man.
Yeah, I've had some friends out of the SEC country tell me, "Well, I'm not even interested in this game. I don't even want to watch it." And you know what I think, Rage? I think, boo hoo. The rest of the country gets to enjoy the game this
Fuck
year as
them.
opposed to watching two of your stupid teams play, for essentially the SEC championship part two. Because the BCS era, and I'm not saying the SEC didn't deserve it. I'm not saying they didn't play great football and that they didn't in many ways earn it on the field, but they had every advantage, their way, and they were very good on top of it. So when you put those two things together, it's a hard combination to beat, and the SEC has dominated over the last 15, 16, 17 years. And so it's really nice when they're eliminated, but many of our friends down in the South don't really know what to do with themselves when there's no SEC team in the national championship game because they have no rooting interest.
Oh, well. I
Yeah,
don't care.
that's right.
Too bad for them. I couldn't care
Yep.
less. By this point, Michael, we all know who Michigan is. So let's try and understand what our conference is going against in Washington. Because
Yeah.
even though Washington's in our conference next year, they are the enemy on Monday.
Yeah,
So,
because those of you that are watching maybe for the first time, we broke down our thoughts on Michigan prior to the Ohio State game.
yeah.
We gave some thoughts on Michigan after the Ohio State game. We did a whole preview show on Michigan versus Alabama. We did a post-game show on Michigan versus Alabama. So if you're new to this show and you want to see what we think about Michigan, go watch those episodes. But everybody who's been watching, our thoughts on Michigan are well documented.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've gone over Michigan a lot. So there's
As
really
much as any other team besides Ohio State. Yeah.
Yeah, easily the second most. And I think we have more Michigan subscribers at this point than Ohio State.
Well, yeah, we need our Buckeyes to come along. But
It's all right, man. Again, I think we're just kind of going with what people like, and people like hearing us talk about the Big Ten more than Ohio State because I
think we're just talking like from our, I think we're just saying how we feel, and so I have always felt this way as an Ohio State fan. I know that I
feel like a lot of Ohio State fans just can't take the cold hard truth. I mean, go and look at the freaking internet blogs and message boards and stuff. A lot of them, they don't like that. They don't like to hear the truth, and we bring the truth, so you can take it as you will, but oh well. Washington, their offense. A lot of actually, no, not a lot. All of Washington's offense is run out of 11 personnel, which means they have one back, a tight end, and 3 wide receivers. They also run 10 personnel, 4 wide, and a back, and then they also run empty. So it's all out of the spread, and they're spreading you out. Ryan Grubb is their offensive coordinator, and he's probably the best in the nation at his job. But I will say this: Kalen DeBoer is an offensive guy, so it's always tricky to give offensive coordinators credit who are under offensive-minded head coaches because Kalen DeBoer had an offensive background. He was an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it is. I mean, sometimes you don't quite know, who to give the credit for. I think that Ryan Day, and we're not going to talk about Ryan Day, but I think he's one of the few coaches left that tries to be the offensive coordinator and the head coach. I think most guys have let go of that at this point. And I would say DeBoer obviously is involved in the offense, But I do think to some degree, I think to a greater degree than Ryan Day, he has empowered the offensive coordinator to, um, you know, essentially be the offensive coordinator.
I know that Nick Saban tried to hire Ryan Grubb last season.
Yeah.
They was going to pay him like $2 million a year.
Exactly. And so a guy like that is not going to go work for a head coach that's going to be like, yeah, you're the offensive coordinator in title, but I'm still going to call the shots. Like they're just not going to do that.
Yeah. So, all right. So we kind of know. Obviously, Washington likes to throw it around, but they actually are more. They're more balanced than you think. But I will say, let's all start out with Michael Penix. We all know who Michael Penix is. I don't think we
Yeah.
really need to go over him. Best quarterback in the country, in my opinion. Jaden Daniels is like the most explosive, flashy, but I think Michael Penix is the most consistently good. In my opinion. He is the left-handed CJ Stroud. He's the entire package. He's mobile. But the only thing is for the NFL, what works against him is he's old. I think he's like 24 years old,
Yeah.
and he's had like 2 ACL injuries, so he's not going to be like a top 3 or 4 pick like CJ Stroud, because CJ Stroud was only like 21 when he came out for the NFL, but Penix is going to be 24 with like 2. And let's be real, he's you could almost classify him as injury prone because he's had 2 knee injuries, but best quarterback in the country.
I think a team, in the middle to late first round is likely going to get a bargain because I mean the kid's obviously got fight. He's gone through 2 ACLs. He's recovered. He's fought through. I mean, if you've ever had injuries in college, and I did. I had a series of injuries in college, and I fought through, and I played for full years, but it certainly impacted, the amount of fun that it was for me, and it impacted. It's difficult playing through injuries. It's not fun. And so, for a kid to come through 2 ACL repairs and fight through that adversity and end up being as good as he is, I mean, I'll tip my cap to him. I would take a gamble on
him. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I probably would too. But I'm not an NFL GM. But just because you're an NFL GM doesn't mean you're a smart guy. Because how many teams freaking fail? How many freaking NFL teams fail and have some just horrendous picks? Their wide receiver trio of Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Rome Odunze, by far the best wide receiver core in the country. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah, they're good.
Sorry, Michigan, you have not seen a core like this since 2021 Ohio State.
Yeah,
and that was in the Golden
Ohio
Snow.
State prepared you for this a little bit, but the problem was that there was Kyle McCord behind center and not Michael Penix Jr. I think this wide receiver core is a bit better than Ohio State's. Michael Penix Jr. is a lot better than Kyle McCord, and so maybe who knows? Even if you make the argument that Ohio State's wide receiver core and Washington's talent-wise are equal, and maybe that's not true, but let's just even say, for the sake of argument, let's say that is true. It's still a massive difference between Kyle McCord and Michael Penix Jr. So this is going to be a tough matchup for Michigan secondary. I mean, this is going to be a challenge. I think that they're a much better secondary than Texas, no doubt about that. But it's still, Michigan's going to have their hands full with these guys.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the only thing I would say the difference is between, Washington's receiving core from this season and Ohio State 2021 is Washington's receiving core is bigger and more physical. Well, I think Ohio State's in 2021 had a little bit more speed because of Olave and Garrett Wilson. But the only thing is, it's like I said, that was played in the cold and snow. Players are not going to be as fast out there. I also just saw a report that running back Dylan Johnson, the guy who got hurt, remember I explained to you at the end of that Texas-Washington game, the running back that got hurt, he's expected to play. Okay, and he is a tank, weighing like 220 at 6 feet tall.
What was his injury? Did they ever really say?
You know what? I don't remember. I just know he's expected to play. That's really all that matters now. He's from Mississippi, and he was a former Mississippi State transfer.
I was just wondering, is he going to be 90%,
Oh
75%.
man, I don't know. It just said he
Yeah.
was expected to play. I
Mm.
mean, even if they're never going to give you a percentage, man, because let's be real, this is football, and um, players are going to probably try and go after his knee if he's saying it's still like banged
Yeah.
up and stuff. I
No,
mean,
I
that's
was I was
football.
just trying to calculate my own percentage based on if I knew what kind of injury he had, and how much time he had to recover.
Hmm.
I might have some idea of what he would be, what strength he would be
Yeah, I
out
don't
there.
even know. I don't even know what his injury even was. I mean, somebody was trying to say, I mean, I don't know. Whatever it was pretty bad because they had to stop play and they stopped play for a while. Like it
Hmm.
wasn't like he was just off the field quick. Like I was like, damn, I don't think he's going to play against Michigan the way he's getting off of the field. But I mean, he's expected to play. I mean, it is a national championship.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody's going to try their damnedest to play.
Sure, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
Washington doesn't appear to have much behind him because I was looking at the stats against Texas. Nobody really else carried the ball in that game.
No, but I will say this. Don't discount the physicality of Washington's offensive line.
Yeah, I was about
They
to get to them.
they have a physical offensive line.
So yeah, like I said, they don't have much behind Dylan Johnson. It doesn't matter. It's a national championship. So if he has to carry every single time, he has an entire offseason to get healthy. But you're right, Michael. They have a sneaky good offensive line.
Mm.
And they have an offensive guard that's 6'8". And he's not a tackle, he's a guard at 6'8".
Mhm.
That's a big offensive tackle, but I don't even know whether I would describe that as like an offensive guard. That's crazy size.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it almost seems too tall for a guard, but I mean, if he can make it work in there at that size, then all the
Yeah.
better.
I don't know if he can like bend and get leverage. I mean, as a guard, I mean, I don't know jack shit about offensive line and stuff, man. But I will say this, like you're gonna have to get under, you're gonna have to get inside of your guy to move him. Like you're not just gonna be able to come over top of him. He's so
Right.
big. You're gonna get called for holding every freaking time.
Yeah. Yeah. And those defensive tackles, I mean, that's their job is to get low. So I've always thought it was kind of tough to have a 6'7" guard. I always liked guards about 6'3" to 6'6".
Well, Michigan's defensive line is also huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they
It's
are.
gonna be interesting to see Kenneth Grant go against this guy.
Yeah.
That's like two just masses of humanity, just two freaking large
Yeah.
monsters.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see that. But, you know, continuing on with the lines, Michael, the more I've looked at Washington defensive line, they're not a typical Pac-10. But I'm going to keep calling them Pac-10 because that's who I grew up with. I don't call them fucking Pac-12. They're not a typical Pac-10 team. Have you looked at like their depth chart?
I have not looked at their depth chart now.
They are big, like
Hmm.
really big. They have two 300-pound defensive tackles, but the thing is, the biggest one, Olumu Ale, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah.
He's 6'6", 330 pounds.
Wow.
I believe they have a bigger defensive line than what Alabama even had, and that is crazy.
Yeah, that is. I have not watched that particular unit close enough to have an opinion. I mean, I
Mhm.
would have to think that at best they're going to be on par with Alabama's offensive line. I mean, defensive line. I wouldn't think that they were better than Alabama's defensive line, but you never know. I mean, I know I certainly one thing that popped, about watching them was well, there was two things that popped is their wide receivers are very good and their offensive line was very physical. And
Mhm.
honestly, that's the two things that jumped out at me in the a couple of games that I have watched Washington this year. So 3 games I've watched them this year.
Yeah, they don't stop the one run particularly well, even though considering the success that Texas had. So it's kind of interesting how big they are. Um,
If
at
Michigan can establish that grinding run, that's the key. I mean, if
Yeah,
they
oh
if,
yeah.
if
Well, we'll get to the
yeah.
keys later, but continuing on at linebacker, I had to look this up. Edifwan Ilefosho is their
Mhm.
leading tackler. Um,
Hmm.
he does have a lot of speed. He's not overly big, but he's athletic. I
Yeah.
actually watched, the Pac-10 Network. They actually had a little video about him. He's actually quite a character.
Mm.
He's a funny guy. Just, he's like dancing and stuff. I mean, most football players are trying to have fun in practice, but I mean,
Yeah.
if you're a starter playing all year, you know that you can be a little bit more chill and all of that. But
Right.
backups and stuff, they might be like, "Fuck, man, I want to fucking play."
Yep. 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 So yeah. So their linebacking
Their
core.
linebacking core is solid.
Okay.
They have
What do you
some
think about their
speed there.
defensive backs? How have they performed this year out there in the Pac-12?
Man, their DBs are like, I don't know if they're ball hawks, but they are good because I got
Mm.
the first because I noticed it against like Oregon and how physical they are. Like their
Mhm.
one safety is like, he's tied. I mean, he's tied with that linebacker as their leading tacklers. He's like 6'3", 215, forget his name. But in the secondary across the board, they actually have a lot of length.
Mm.
They only have one guy that's under 6 feet, and I believe he plays in like the nickel. So I mean that they're supposed to be a little bit smaller there. Um, Again, like I said before, go back and watch the Oregon game, and you'll see the playmaking they possess. They actually did fine against Texas's passing game, to be honest
Mhm.
with you. I mean, watch it. I mean, they did fine in that game covering Texas receivers. Like
Right.
even what the hell is like Texas's fastest receiver, man? Like he was trying to get deep on Washington, and he did. He did beat them down, but they got on him pretty quick. It's not like he ran away from them. Oh man, forget his name now. Do you remember the Texas receiver name with a lot of speed?
Are you talking about Baxter?
No, no, I'm not talking about Baxter. Man, I'm looking it up now. Xavier Worthy.
Okay.
Xavier Worthy. I think he was actually a Michigan commit. Xavier Worthy was
Okay.
at some point, which is kind of odd that he left. But I guess I don't know. Texas throws it around a little bit more than Michigan does. But again, like they didn't really run away from him like that. I mean, their receivers. I mean, none of them really went off. They had good success and threw for a decent amount of yards, but none of the receivers went like you know Super Saiyan
No, I
3
mean
on
they,
Washington.
you had 9 catches, and
Hmm.
or not. I'm sorry, not
No, it's like
catches.
their
You had
leading
six.
receiver
You
is
had six
Jadavion
catches, four
Sanders.
catches, and 2 catches.
Hmm.
But they threw for 18. 318 total. So I mean, they
Right.
certainly had success, but they also, they had 180 on the ground, and so that, like you said, that
Yeah.
is interesting.
So, like I said, their biggest weakness is the run. Um, they run a 4-2-5 defense. I was trying to find out who actually calls the plays on defense. I know they have like two guys that are listed as like co-DCs, but Texas between their two backs averaged 6.8 yards a carry, Michael.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they had success on the ground, and
Hmm.
Washington did not have a lot of success. Did you know? You mentioned him, but did you look up Dylan um, Johnson's stats for this game?
21 carries for 49 yards.
Yeah, I mean, shut down.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of success. I mean, people are trying to hype. I didn't scout Texas. I have no idea. I just literally picked Washington because I just always felt like they were a better team than Texas all year. Damn, I should
I
have gone to Vegas.
I only did enough that I did know that Texas has a good front seven, but that the weakness of their defense is the defensive backfield.
Hmm.
And so I felt like, based on the things that I had read about the team, and some stats that I had looked at, that was going to be a problem potentially for Texas, against this Washington pass attack. And it certainly, Michigan is much stronger in the defensive secondary than Texas.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
So, why Texas didn't try and run the ball more, I have no idea. Quinn Ewers even had success, and he isn't near the running threat, or in my opinion, is he near as good of a QB as JJ McCarthy is? I think JJ McCarthy's much better, and not only just much better, he's much more talented. Like
Hmm.
JJ McCarthy throws freaking ropes out there. Like Quinn Ewers, like they like sail. They get there, but it just feels like it takes a long time. And the arm strength's just I don't know. I don't know if you can say it's weird. That just does it. The velocity is low,
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to say. Like the ball gets there, but it takes a while.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to really try and specialize in the touch pass,
I don't know.
so
Even that
JJ
last
did.
pass of the game to Adonai Mitchell, like in
Mhm.
the last throw of the game. Like it felt like it took a long time to get there. I don't know if he was trying to throw a jump ball or what. It was odd.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's not, yet lived up to the hype of being the quote unquote perfect recruit, the perfect 100 out of high school, that's for sure.
So, as we know, as all of you know, we are cheering for Michigan in this game.
Mhm.
Washington, we will love you guys next year and we'll cover you some next year, but next year is not this year.
You're on the wrong side of the
This year
fence
is this
this
year.
year,
Yeah, you're on the
Huskies.
wrong side of the fence. Even though I cheered for you guys all season, except against Michigan State when
Yep.
you played Michigan State. Um, I cheered for you all year. I've always liked your colors. Your stadium is like gorgeous. I really, really, really want to get out to Seattle and catch a Washington Huskies game. That
Yeah.
is on my bucket list
That'd be
at Husky
cool.
Stadium. Have you seen the view there, Michael?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Very, I mean, it looks very pretty.
Yeah. When is Ohio State scheduled? I mean, we're gonna be playing there soon. We have to be. I know we're not playing there in 2024, but we're
No.
playing sometime.
Yeah, it's gotta be 2025, 2026, somewhere in there, next few
Yeah, when
years.
that
Yeah.
happens, like I'm probably gonna try and go.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that'd be
like you
cool.
just can't miss something like that.
Yeah,
So
that'd be
keys
cool.
to the game. Number one that comes out to me is obviously we kind of already brushed on this, but Michigan's going to need to be able to run the ball and not get away from it. And I know they will. I know they'll continue to run the ball.
Mhm.
But my only question is, was Texas able to run the ball a lot better against Washington? Because Texas runs a lot of spread. I
Mhm.
know Michigan kind of runs more spread, but they run spread power.
Mhm.
And like Washington is going to know that Michigan is going to run the ball. So do
Yeah.
they commit more guys to the line of scrimmage? Do they run blitz Michigan more? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's really that's perplexing there. What are
Yeah,
your thoughts?
I'm interested to see if they're willing to change any tendencies in this game, and I'm not saying that they have to, but I'm just saying that they came up with something against Alabama on defense that was a little different than what they had showed throughout the year. And
Mhm.
so, the defense that they played against Alabama, that was not really the approach that they had on defense against Ohio State. And so, they
They
really came up
blitz
with
like hell.
they really came up with a nice game plan on defense that was kind of
Mhm.
tendency breaking, and it really threw Alabama off. I don't know. I wonder if they'll try to go a little more play action, a little bit, a few more, shots through the air early on, and see if they can catch Washington a little bit off balance. But maybe they'll just stick with the tried and true, pounding it on the ground. It certainly worked all year.
Yeah, and then I was trying to watch some film on the Texas Washington game. And I don't know. I mean, like Texas did blitz Washington some, but I think they should have been blitzing them more.
Mhm.
Like you just can't let Penix sit back there.
No,
Like there are a couple times that Texas only rushed like 3 or 4 and gave
yeah.
him all day to go down the field. Um, I
Well,
believe Michigan's going to have to really bring pressure the same way they brought pressure against Jalen Milrow. You just can't let Penix sit back there. And, if he beats your DBs in one on one coverage with those great receivers, then so be it. But
right.
you have to take your chances.
Yeah, you definitely have to dial up some disguised blitzes and some pressure on strategic downs, because you're right. You can't if he has 3-4 seconds back there, he's probably going to find somebody. You
Mhm.
got to get him moving, get some pressure on him, and get some sacks. They had 6 against Alabama. Um, I'm not saying they need 6, but I think they need 3 or 4. Enough to have Penix.
Got to get them off schedule. You
Yeah,
have to get them off
yeah,
schedule
yeah.
because Texas really didn't. Like Washington was even running. I mean, they kind of like almost backfired on them. Like Washington should have won that game by 2 touchdowns.
Right.
And they started running like trick plays, and instead of like burning clock at the end, they were trying to like throw it around, and it damn near cost them. It would have been the biggest choke job probably in sports history if they would have lost that game.
Oh boy.
It was that bad. And I hate Texas, everyone. I've said it. I do really dislike them. That would have really sucked to have Texas go. I mean, Michigan, I think you would have handled Texas, but it wouldn't have been easy. But again, before we make our predictions here, Michael, do you have anything to add to the game plan before you make your prediction on who's going to win this?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, I think that what we've covered with Washington is, you kind of match that up against what we know Michigan is,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's a good matchup for Michigan. I don't think it's like an amazing matchup for Michigan, but I do think it's a good matchup for Michigan. And I really do think that they're going to be able to establish the run game. And I think that whatever they do with JJ, they're going to figure out a way to have enough of a pass threat that it's going to continue to allow them to pound the ball and just play the game that they've played all year. I don't anticipate the Washington defense being able to get them too much off of that track unless JJ threw multiple interceptions or something like that.
So, what's your final score?
My final score is Michigan 34 and Washington 27.
Okay. So yeah, I will say this. Like I said in the last video, I gave Michigan the edge. But the more I looked into this, Michael, it's getting really, really hard to pick a winner here.
Mm.
Because what like I said before, Washington is a lot bigger than I thought. I did
They
not
are.
realize they were this big on either line. Like,
Mhm,
they're much bigger than Ohio State on both lines. They're
mhm,
much better than Ohio State at quarterback. They're
mhm.
much better than Ohio State at receiver. They're not as good as Ohio State in the secondary, but their secondary can play. Their linebackers are better than Ohio State. So they're a much better team than Ohio State is,
Yeah.
Michigan. Michigan, you beat Ohio State 30-24 at home. Man, this is so hard to pick because, I really do believe Michigan is going to have to come after Michael Penix. They're not going to be able to let him just sit back there. Um, do I believe they can cover their receivers like man for man? Probably better than anyone in the country. I
Yeah.
do. But does that mean they're actually going to be able to cover them? I don't really know for sure. But I am going to pick Michigan 34, Washington 31.
Mm. Close one.
And very close. This is a very close game because, again, these are two undefeated teams. Washington is undefeated from the best conference in America, Michael.
Mhm.
Like, the Pac 10 was the best conference in America. They went undefeated in that conference. They beat Oregon twice. Oregon is a very good team, and they beat them twice.
They did.
And
They
it
did.
would
I
not
mean,
surprise me if the score were reversed. It was very, very hard to pick. And the only reason I'm picking Michigan is because I do think that Washington's going to have a really hard time stopping Michigan's run
mhm.
game. That's it.
Yeah. And I mean, Michigan has they've beat Penn State, Ohio State, and Alabama. So I mean, they've got a solid pedigree going into this game as well. And so I think they can handle it. I do. I think it's going to be a very tough game. But I do believe that they can. I think it's going to be different than the Ohio State game. That game's always so, it's the rivalry game. It's cold. It's November. I think it's going to be different than that. Totally different vibe, exciting vibe, electric vibe. And I think they're going to play fast, hard, and aggressive. And I think they're going to come out on the winning end of this one.
Who do you give the edge in the coaching staff to, Washington or Michigan?
I'm going to give Michigan the slight edge.
Yeah, I give them a slight edge because, Harbaugh's NFL. I mean, I don't know what Kalen DeBoer's total background is. I know he's an offensive guy, but
Right.
man, oh man, that guy's a hell of a coach. I mean,
Hmm.
he really is.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh and his NFL background and Jesse Minter and his NFL background, I would give Michigan the edge. And hopefully Minter dials it up like he did against Alabama. He's going to need to in this game. He's going to have to trust in Will Johnson, Josh Wallace, Rod Moore, Mike Sainristil, Makari Page, all of you guys, if you're listening, you're going to have to bring your big boy pants and cover these dudes because you're going to be left out on islands. You just can't let Penix sit back there, man. You got to bring 5, I would say 60% of the time. I know that's dangerous, but that's what I would do. I would
Yeah.
blitz the hell out of him.
Yeah, it will. It'll be interesting to see how they approach it. Jim Harbaugh joins a very small list of coaches to both coach in a Super Bowl and in a college national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And that is now Jim Harbaugh. And prior to him, it was a solo list of Pete Carroll.
Is Pete Carroll the only one to win a Super Bowl and a college football champ? Or actually, no, Paul Brown.
I don't know. I was just reading the graphic from this morning. Maybe it was talking about in the modern. Well, Paul Brown was before the Super Bowl era.
Oh, that's right. So
Yeah.
who else besides Pete Carroll has won a championship? And is anybody?
No, it's Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh are the only two to have even coached.
Okay, but won both.
Well, nobody's won both except Pete Carroll.
Okay, wow.
But Jim Harbaugh now joins him as a second who has coached in both a college national championship game and a Super Bowl.
Interesting.
Maybe after the game, he'll be one who has won a national championship game and coached in a Super Bowl.
Off topic, though, speaking of Pete Carroll, I just want to say before we get out of here, I just want to say that I know Saban is like the greatest of all time with his championships and everything. And Pac-10 fans, Washington fans, you may agree with this, even though you don't like it. But I really do think like if there was a 4-team college football playoff back then, that we would be talking about Pete Carroll as being the greatest coach of all time.
It's possible. It really is.
I mean, think about it. He had I think in 2003, if there was a 14 playoff, he would have won. Now, Ohio State in 2003 was damn good too, but we saw Michigan fans, you saw what they did to you in the Rose Bowl. And then you have their 2005 team barely lost to Vince Young. I get that. But 2006, they were playing well at the end of the year and blew out Illinois. It would have been interesting to see them against Florida. 2008 with Ray Maluga and Brian Cushing. That defense was amazing, and their offense was so explosive. That 2008 USC team would have beat the 2008 Florida team, in my opinion.
Yeah, very, very well could have. I mean,
you're looking at 3 or 4 championships in like 9 years for Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could have easily done that. I mean, I think he could have, because he was hard to beat on the big stage. He'd lose a small game, but he didn't hardly lose the game.
He was the complete opposite of Ryan Day.
Total opposite of Ryan Day, yeah.
That's what I mean. Again, like I know it's asking for a lot, but all I ask for is like I want a coach that wins the big games like Pete Carroll did because he always won the big games, always won. And not only did he win, he would destroy people's wills.
Yeah.
I've never seen teams that just beat down opponents like the way he did, man. I understand Miami in the 80s, but I was too young to remember any of that, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so all right. If anybody wants to chime in with if they think the Miami teams in the 80s were better, to this day, my 36-year-old self, the Pete Carroll teams from the mid 2000s were the greatest collection of college football teams I have ever seen. And they would, yes, collectively, they were better than anything Nick Saban has done.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else, Michael.
That's it.
We're going to be going. Oh, yeah. By the way, everyone, we are going to be going live. First time ever after the national championship game is over. We are going to be going live on this channel. So be sure to tune in. We're looking forward to it because we've never done it. It's unprecedented for this channel. We're growing and you guys are just along for the ride.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back soon.
Good luck, Michigan.
All right.